The sun shone brightly in the blue sky, illuminating the small village that had always been my home. The aroma of jasmine tea lingered in the air, bringing a familiar comfort that had accompanied me since childhood. It was a perfect day to meet Lian and Tao at the temple, a place that had always been our refuge. As I approached the temple, I could hear the soft sound of bells, echoing as if inviting all the villagers to gather. As soon as I entered the temple, I found Lian and Tao already sitting on one of the wooden benches, their expressions reflecting a mix of nostalgia and longing. Lian, with her long dark hair, had a sparkle in her eyes that revealed her desire to dream. Tao, on the other hand, had always been the most pragmatic among us. But at that moment, his face was marked by a restlessness that did not go unnoticed. "Ming!" Lian exclaimed, breaking into a radiant smile. "Finally, you're here!" We were starting to worry. "Sorry for the delay," I replied, sitting down next to them. The path was full of flowers, and I couldn't resist stopping to admire them. "Always getting lost in your thoughts," Tao commented with a smile as he looked at the temple altar where the image of Buddha was serenely illuminated by sunlight. "Sometimes I wish I had your ability to dream, Ming." "Dreaming is all we have, isn't it?" Lian said, gazing at the high wooden ceilings of the temple. "But what if those dreams come true?" The conversation flowed naturally among us, like a river following its course, filled with memories and hopes. Each of us shared our frustrations about life. Lian spoke about the monotony of her days working at the village's small clothing store while dreaming of starting her own business. Tao expressed his dissatisfaction with working in the fields, feeling like life was passing him by without significant changes. I, on the other hand, felt that something was missing in my life, a purpose that pushed me to move forward. "Sometimes I wonder if there's something more beyond this," I said, looking into my friend's eyes. "Something that makes us feel alive." "It's as if we're stuck in a spinning wheel," Lian added thoughtfully, "working, eating and sleeping without ever really experiencing." It was at that moment that an elder, known as Zhu, approached us. He had always been a respected figure in the village, known for his wisdom and stories that seemed to transcend time. With his slow but steady gait, he sat down beside us, as if he had always been part of our conversation. "What are the young dreamers discussing?" Shu asked, his voice soft like a whisper of the wind. "We're just trying to understand what it means to truly live," I replied. "Sometimes we feel like we're just going through the days without direction." Yu smiled, his eyes shining with deep wisdom. "Living is indeed an act of courage, but sometimes a legend can guide us. Do you know the story of the lucky dates?" The three of us exchanged curious glances. We had always heard of it, but never paid much attention. "The story says that those born on specific dates are blessed with luck," Shu explained. "However, true luck doesn't come just from being favored by nature. It is cultivated through wisdom and understanding of life." "What do you mean by that?" Lian asked, leaning in closer. "Life is full of choices, and each choice carries its weight," Shu said, looking at us with a penetrating gaze. "If you truly wish to change your lives, you must understand that luck is just one aspect. True wealth comes from knowledge and friendship." Shu's words resonated in my mind. It was as if he were opening a door to a new understanding. What did it really mean to be lucky? And what if the luck we sought was already within our reach, but not in the way we imagined? "So what should we do?" Tao asked, his curiosity piqued. In simple terms, Shu said, "If you want to change your lives, why not play the lottery? Choose numbers based on the dates that are considered lucky, but remember, what truly matters is not the prize, but the journey that will take you there." Listening to Shu, an idea began to take shape in my mind. Why not? We could allow ourselves to dream a little bigger. What could we lose? And what if we won? Lian said, her voice filled with excitement. We could make our dreams come true. All right, I agreed, feeling adrenaline coursing through my veins. Let's choose our dates and play. But we can't forget what Shu said, Tao warned. We need to remember that true wealth is what we do with it. And if we win, we can use the money to change our lives. But also to help the village, I suggested, my mind buzzing with possibilities. With a silent agreement, we decided that each of us would choose a number based on the dates mentioned by Shu. The anticipation grew among us, like a flame beginning to burn. The temple, with its serene atmosphere, now felt like a sacred place where hopes and dreams could flourish. Shu, noticing our excitement, smiled and gave us a gentle pat on the shoulder. Remember, young ones, true luck does not lie in the numbers, but in the way you embrace life. What you learn along the way is what truly matters. We agreed to meet again on the day of the drawing. As we walked away from the temple, a feeling of hope and expectation enveloped us. I didn't know what awaited us, but I was ready to find out. After all, life was full of surprises, and for the first time in a long time, I felt that we were about to experience one of them. Our destiny was in the hands of chance, but I had the feeling that, regardless of the outcome, the journey we were about to embark on would be transformative. As we walked together through the village, the sun was slowly setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, as if it were celebrating our dreams and the new adventure that was to come. The anxiety was in the air, like a palpable electricity. The night of the lottery draw had arrived, and the three of us found ourselves at Ming's house, which had been transformed into a true sanctuary of anticipation. The small room was decorated with softly flickering red lanterns, reflecting the hope that pulsed in our hearts. Ming had prepared a simple yet tasty snack, rice cakes and green tea, and even with a full stomach, the tension made me feel as if I hadn't eaten anything. "What if we win?" Lian asked, her eyes shining with possibility. "What would you do with the money?" I looked at Ming, who seemed more focused on the screen of the television surrounding us. He had a determined expression. "I would buy a house," he said, his voice firm. "A big house where we could always gather. I can't stand living in my parents' house anymore. I want a place that is just mine." Lian smiled, but didn't seem convinced. "And then? What's the point of a house if you don't have friends?" She shook her head. "I, on the other hand, want to open a clothing store. I've always dreamed of having my own business." Lian's idea sparked a light in me. It was true. The life we led in the village felt suffocating. The desire for change united us and brought us here. And I started to speak, hesitating. I wanted to travel, to see other places, to live new experiences. The world is so big, and I feel trapped here. The conversation flowed between us like a river as our imagination ran free. Each of us had dreams, aspirations, and in a way a feeling that the lottery could be the key to open the doors that had always been closed. "But what would you do if we didn't win?" Lian asked, her perceptive gaze crossing mine. "Have you thought about that? What if this is all just an illusion?" The restlessness her words brought made me reflect. What if this was all just a dream? "We can't think like that," Ming interrupted. "The legend tells us we have a chance. What matters is that we have hope." That word, hope, was like a light guiding us in the darkness. Time passed, and as we awaited the live broadcast, the anticipation transformed into a mix of anxiety and excitement. The clock seemed to move slower, each second dragging as if it were playing with us. Finally, the television turned on, and the announcer's voice echoed through the room. He announced the arrival of the draw, and our hearts raced in unison. Each of us held a piece of paper with the numbers we had chosen. Ming, Lian, and I looked at each other, and the tension rose. "Let's go!" Ming shouted, almost like a ritual. "May luck be with us!" The first numbers began to be drawn, and with each one that appeared on the screen, our hopes soared. If a number matched ours, a shout of joy echoed through the room. Our hearts beat like drums, and with each win, our euphoria grew. It was as if time had stopped, and all that mattered was that fraction of a second. "The next number is," the announcer announced, and the room fell silent. "Please let it be ours," Leanne whispered, her eyes fixed on the screen, and for a moment, the outside world disappeared. The number that appeared was ours. The room exploded with shouts and laughter. We were in ecstasy, a wave of joy enveloping us. "We won! We won!" I shouted, almost in disbelief. But as the euphoria settled in, a shadow of doubt began to loom over us. What did this really mean? We won money, but what about the changes we truly desired? What would we do with this luck? "It's just a number," Leanne shouted, still jumping with joy, but frustration was starting to seep into her voice. "What do we do now?" "I don't know," Ming replied, the excitement in his eyes giving way to confusion. "What do we do with the life we have now?" The celebration that was once joyful quickly transformed into a tangle of uncertainties. What did it really mean to win? What would we do with this prize? Questions arose one after another, like waves in a turbulent sea. "Look, to be honest, I didn't expect to win," I said, trying to organize my thoughts. "I don't know if I'm ready to deal with this. What do we really want?" Ming and Lian looked at me, and I realized we were all on the same page. The shine of the prize was beginning to fade, giving way to the reality surrounding us. What to do with life now? That luck seemed to be on our side. "We need to talk about this," Lian suggested, her voice calmer now. "We need to understand what this means for us." And so the conversation began to flow again, but now in a more serious tone. The initial euphoria was replaced by deep reflections. What was true wealth? Had we lost sight of what really mattered in our lives? That night stretched on for hours, and as we discussed our hopes and fears, I realized that in some way true luck was not just winning the lottery, but having each other. It was the friendship that shaped our lives and made us rich in a way that money could not. When we finally said goodbye, the moonlight illuminated the path back home. The echo of our laughter was still present, but now there was a new understanding hanging in the air. Luck had arrived, but what we would do with it was the true question that was beginning to challenge us. Life, I realized, was a constant lottery, and it was us who decided the numbers we chose to play. Expectations were high, but what really mattered was the journey that would take us where we wanted to go, and more importantly, what we could do together. The morning light filtered through the windows of the new house I had bought, a spacious and bright structure with white walls that gleamed under the sun. I was sitting at the kitchen table, looking at the empty space around me, thinking about everything that had changed. The idea that a simple lottery ticket could transform our lives seemed in a way somewhat absurd now. Lian, Tao and I had spent our whole lives dreaming of the freedom that wealth could bring us, but now that we had it, a sense of emptiness enveloped me. "Ming, you're overthinking again," Lian shouted from across the room, interrupting my thoughts. She was organizing some boxes, which reminded me that although I had a new house, I still hadn't really made it a home. "Look around you. We have everything now. What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know, Lian," I replied, my words coming out as a whisper. "I thought having a house like this would mean happiness, but I don't know. The house feels so big and empty without you here." Lian stopped what she was doing and turned to me, her eyes shining with understanding. "I feel the same way. I invested in the store, but the truth is, life isn't just about money. I thought I would have a purpose, but I feel lost." She sighed, and a heavy silence hung between us. Tao, who had gone out to stroll and explore the neighborhood, returned at that moment. He came in with a smile that quickly faded when he noticed the tense atmosphere. "What happened?" he asked, concerned. "What's going on, friends?" "Just talking about our new lives and how, despite everything, we still feel incomplete," Lian replied, her voice tinged with a hint of discouragement. "Oh, that's normal," Tao said, shaking his head. "I thought traveling the world was all I wanted, but after a few weeks, I realized I was just running away. What really matters is what we leave behind." I got up and went to the window, looking out at the horizon. The village was alive, children playing in the street, the market bustling, and people greeting one another. But the joy I saw was not present within me. Money had brought opportunities, but not the true satisfaction I had expected. I wanted more than material wealth. I wanted to feel that I belonged to something greater, that my friends and I were still an important part of each other's lives. "We need to talk to Shu," I suggested. "He has always had a wise way of looking at things. Maybe he can help us understand what we're feeling." Lian and Tao agreed, and soon we decided we would go to the temple. The walk there was silent, not because we didn't want to talk, but because each of us was lost in our own thoughts. The temple was a place of peace, a refuge that always welcomed us in difficult times. When we arrived, we found Shu meditating under a leafy tree. He seemed at peace, as if the world around him was not his concern. When he opened his eyes and saw us, a smile lit up his face. "Hello, my young friends. What brings you here?" Shu asked, his voice soft and comforting. "Shu, we're confused," I said bluntly. "Winning the lottery didn't bring the happiness we expected. In fact, it seems our dreams have turned into nightmares. What are we doing wrong?" Shu looked at us, his expression serious but understanding. "What you seek cannot be found in material possessions," he replied slowly. "True happiness doesn't come from what we own, but from what we live and the connections we make." "But what should we do now?" Lian asked, her voice filled with desperation. "What can we do to feel complete again?" "Look at the sky," he said, gesturing with his hand. "Notice how the clouds move, how the sun shines. Life is made of moments, and often we forget to live in the present. You have the chance to create meaningful experiences. The wealth you possess can be a tool for that." Tao intervened, his eyes shining with a new idea. "What if we used our money to help others, to create experiences that connect us with the community? Wouldn't that be a step towards happiness?" Shu smiled, as if we had finally understood the essence of his wisdom. "Exactly, Tao. When you help others, you find the true value of life. Creating bonds of friendship and solidarity is the real wealth we all seek." We left the temple with a new purpose pulsing in our hearts. What had once felt like a burden was now transforming into an opportunity to rediscover what was most important. On the way back, we began discussing ideas on how we could use our lottery winnings to benefit the village. "What if we held a community fair?" I suggested. "We could invite everyone to sell their products and share their stories. It would be a great way to bring us together again." "That's a great idea, Ming," Lian exclaimed, excited. "We could also organize workshops to teach skills like cooking or crafts. That would help strengthen our community." "And I could bring music," Tao added, his enthusiasm contagious. "We could make it a big event for everyone. Music always brings people together." With each idea that arose, we felt the weight of emptiness diminish. The prospect of bringing our community together and creating something beautiful was transforming into a project that could not only help us, but everyone around us. True fortune was revealing itself before us, and each of us was beginning to realize that what truly mattered was not the money itself, but what we could do with it. "Let's do this, friends. Let's change our lives and the lives of others," I declared, determined. And so, with a new purpose, we began to plan what would become one of the best chapters of our lives. The gentle morning breeze carried with it the familiar scent of the lotus flowers growing around the lake. It was a new day in the village, and the sunlight illuminated the path I walked. In the distance, Leon's figure stood out, waving to me with a smile that, although cheerful, hid a shadow of nostalgia. It had been a while since the three of us had met to talk about our lives. The last time we were together, the euphoria of winning the lottery still consumed us, but now, what should have been a celebration had turned into reflection. "Ming!" Leon exclaimed upon seeing me, her eyes shining with a mix of anxiety and expectation. "You made it!" As we approached, I noticed she was not alone. Tao was leaning against a tree, watching the scene with a thoughtful expression. "Hello, friend," Tao said, with a smile that couldn't hide his concern. "I was thinking about how our lives have changed, but not in the way we imagined." "It's true," I replied, trying to hide the confusion I felt inside me. I remember the joy we felt when the numbers were drawn. It was as if we had the world in our hands. Now, it seems, we're more lost than ever. Leanne nodded, her eyes drifting to the lake that reflected the blue sky. Wealth did not bring the happiness we expected. It only brought emptiness. I thought opening my store would make me happy, but what I really feel is immense loneliness. Tao crossed his arms, his gaze fixed on the horizon. I've traveled to so many places, met so many people, but I always came back home with the same sense of lack. I don't know if it was the way we spent our winnings, but it seems we've drifted apart from each other. Tao's words echoed within me, and I couldn't help but feel the same way. What united us was friendship, not money. I looked at Lian and Tao and realized that despite the external changes, there was something that still connected us. The desire to return to being the friends we were before the lottery. What if, I started hesitantly, what if we tried to do something different, something that brings us together and makes us feel like we're contributing to something greater? Leon's expression lit up instantly. What do you have in mind? What if we use the money to help the village? I suggested, feeling a wave of hope. We could promote education, help the children, make a difference in the lives of the people who have always been by our side. Tao thought for a moment, and then his eyes sparkled. That could bring us together again. True wealth lies in the experiences we share together, not in the possessions we accumulate. Exactly, I agreed. We can organize events, raise funds, and even create a small school or community center. Lian jumped with excitement. That's a wonderful idea. We can invite the villagers, discuss what they need, and how we can help. Maybe even Shu can give us advice. The mention of the wise old man awakened a new energy in us. I remembered his wisdom and how his words always brought clarity in moments of confusion. We decided we would seek him out, and his guidance would help us find the right path. Walking together through the village, the atmosphere was one of renewal. People greeted us with smiles, and I felt that even with the difficulties they faced, there was a collective strength that united us. The sound of children laughing in the distance brought a wave of nostalgia, reminding me of how happy we were when we were younger, carefree, just dreaming of the future. We arrived at Shu's house, an old temple surrounded by tall trees. He was sitting on a wooden stool, observing the movement of nature around him. When he saw us, his face lit up with a warm smile. "My children," he exclaimed, slowly rising. "What brings you here on such a beautiful day?" "Shu," Lian began, her voice full of enthusiasm. "We need your wisdom. We won the lottery, but we haven't found the happiness we thought we would have. We want to use our money to help the village, but we don't know where to start." Shu watched us intently, his expression serene. The search for happiness is a winding path and many get lost on it. What truly matters is not the possessions we accumulate, but what we do with what we have. Helping others is one of the noblest paths one can take. Tao nodded, his expression reflecting the depth of Shu's words. But how can we do that in the best way? We don't want to just give money. We want to create something that lasts and makes a difference. The old sage smiled, his eyes shining with wisdom. First, listen to the hearts of the village, ask questions, understand the needs of the people. What do they desire? What can be done to improve their lives? Only then will you be able to build something that truly makes sense. Those words resonated within me. It was true. Before acting, we needed to listen. We needed to reconnect with the essence of the community that had welcomed us throughout our lives. Let's do this, Lian said, filled with determination. Let's talk to the people and find out what they need. And after that, we can meet again to plan how to put everything into practice, I suggested. We could create a community event to engage everyone. Shu nodded, satisfied with our enthusiasm. Remember, true fortune is the friendship and gratitude we cultivate along the way. Every step taken toward the collective good will bring you even closer together. We left Shu's temple with a new sense of purpose. The weight we felt before now seemed to have lifted, and a wave of hope enveloped us. It was time to reconnect with the village and with ourselves, to rediscover what it truly meant to be friends. Throughout the following week, we visited every corner of the village. We talked to the residents, listened to their stories, and understood their struggles. We discovered that many of them dreamed of having access to better education, while others desired resources to strengthen local agriculture. Each conversation was a step toward a deeper understanding of what really mattered. As we spoke with the people, the idea of creating an educational center began to take shape. We could offer classes for children and adults, promote workshops on practical skills, and even entrepreneurship courses. With each new plan, our friendship grew stronger, uniting us around a common purpose. On the night we gathered again, the atmosphere was one of joy and anticipation. Sitting in a circle under the stars, each of us shared our reflections, and the connection between us felt stronger than ever. I feel like we are finally on the right path, said Leon, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. We are doing this together, as we always should have. Doesn't matter what happened in the past, added Tao. What matters is what we are creating now. We are using our luck for something that can benefit many. And so, with a new purpose and determination, we began to plan the next steps. The future of the village and our own future were intertwined, and for the first time in a long time, we felt that we were on the right track. True fortune was in our hearts, in the friendship that united us, and in our ability to make a difference. As the village flourished under the impact of our actions, I, Ming, couldn't help but notice the changes around me. People smiled more, children played with greater joy, and there was a collective sense of hope that had previously seemed absent. Lian, Tao, and I became known not just as the lottery winners, but as those who brought something more valuable, a sense of community. One morning, while walking through the village market, I saw Lian animatedly talking to an elderly woman. She was sharing ideas for a new event we were planning to raise funds for the village school. Her energy was contagious. As I approached, I heard the woman say, "These young people are doing a wonderful job. I've never seen the village so united." My heart filled with joy upon hearing that. "Hi, Ming." Lian greeted me with a wide smile. "We're thinking of organizing a festival to celebrate the gratitude of our community. What do you think?" "That sounds amazing," I replied, excited. "We can invite all the artisans and farmers to showcase their products. And how about a traditional food contest?" Tao, who had joined us, nodded in approval. "And we could include music and dance performances. Nothing brings people together like art." "This is going to be a memorable event," said Lian, excitement in his eyes. "And best of all, it will be a way to give back to everyone who supported us." As we discussed the details, a feeling of satisfaction grew within me. It wasn't just about what we had achieved with the lottery money. It was about what we were building together. The true fortune we were acquiring was the connection with our community. That afternoon we met with Shu at the temple. He always had a wise word to share, and I was eager to hear what he thought about our initiatives. As soon as we entered, I saw him meditating in a corner, surrounded by lit candles and the soft aroma of incense. He opened his eyes and smiled upon seeing us. "My young friends," Shu began, "I see that you have been working hard. What brings you here today?" "We are planning a festival for the village," Lian explained, his voice full of enthusiasm. "We want to celebrate gratitude and share a little of what we have with everyone." Shu smiled wisely, his eyes shining. "That is admirable. True wealth is not measured by what one possesses, but by what one shares. When a heart opens to give, it enriches itself in ways that money never could provide." His words resonated deeply within me. I looked at Lian and Tao, and I could see they were also touched. The festival was not just a way to celebrate, but a way to acknowledge what truly mattered in our lives. In the following days, the village prepared for the festival. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and joy. Children helped decorate the streets with colorful lanterns, while adults organized booths for local products. Lian, with his innate ability to bring people together, coordinated everything with contagious energy. "Did you remember to invite old Zhang?" I asked Tao while we helped set up the stage structure. "Yes, and he said he would bring his old stories to tell," replied Tao, a smile on his face. "The kids will love it." As we worked together, the feeling of camaraderie grew. It was as if every hammer strike and every laugh brought us even closer. The day of the festival finally arrived, and the village was vibrant. Music played in the background, and the voices of the community blended into a chorus of happiness. Zhu was present, observing everything with a satisfied look. When we reached him, he greeted us with a nod. "You have done a wonderful job. The gratitude of the community is alive today." "It's all thanks to what we learned from you, Shu," Lian replied genuinely. "Remember, young ones, the greatest prize you can win is the love and gratitude you cultivate among yourselves and with others. That is true fortune." As the sun set and the lanterns began to shine like stars in the sky, I felt immensely grateful. I looked at my friends and saw the same feeling reflected on their faces. The festival was not just an external celebration, but an internal reaffirmation of what we had learned. True wealth lies in the experiences we share and the connections we make. As the night progressed, people began to gather around the stage. Old Zhang started telling his stories, and the crowd's attention was entirely focused on him. There was something magical about hearing the traditions, myths, and legends that shaped our village. "Remember, young ones," he said in a firm tone, "life is like a river. Sometimes we encounter stones and obstacles, but there is always a way around." Those words echoed in my mind. It was true. Life was full of challenges, but also of opportunities, and we, with our choices, were the architects of our destiny. The party continued late into the night, with laughter, dancing, and a sense of community that warmed our hearts. When the crowd finally began to disperse, I looked at my friends and said, "Today was one of the best nights of my life." "Yes, and this is just the beginning," Lian replied with a sparkle in his eyes. "Let's continue to make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." "I agree," said Tao. "The luck we found in the lottery doesn't compare to the luck we have now, in the form of friendship and love for our community." That night, as we walked home under the starry sky, I realized that true luck was not about numbers or money, but about the choices we make and the lives we touch. True happiness lay in giving and sharing, With that, our hearts were full, and true fortune had revealed itself before us. As the sun set on the horizon, bathing the village in a golden hue, I, Ming, sat next to Lian and Tao at our usual meeting spot, a small hill that offered a panoramic view of the village. The smell of rice cooking in the neighboring houses mixed with the fresh aroma of the fields. And I felt a peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. "Look at this," Lian said, with a smile on his face. "The sunlight seems to embrace us, as if the village is thanking us for everything we've done." Tao nodded, looking at the transforming sky. "It's true. Sometimes it's easy to forget what really matters. We spend so much time dreaming of winning the lottery that we lose sight of it." I got lost in thought. The memory of when we were young and dreamers, imagining what we would do if we had money, was still fresh in my mind. I remember when we thought money would solve all our problems. But honestly, what we gained was so much more than money. "Exactly," Lian replied. "True fortune lies in the experiences we share together. The laughter, the deep conversations, even the difficulties we face as friends." Tao, always the pragmatist of the group, interjected. "Still, I can't deny that at first, the feeling of having money was exciting. It was like we finally had control of our lives. But deep down, we all knew that wasn't what we truly wanted." A gentle breeze caressed our faces, and I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the serenity of the moment envelop me. It was true. The prize we had won was not just a piece of paper with numbers. It was the chance to rediscover the essence of our friendship and what it meant to live fully. "Life is like a lottery," I said aloud, almost without thinking. "With every choice we make, we are playing a number. Sometimes we win, other times we lose. But what really matters is how we use those choices to build our lives." Lian smiled, as if he had heard a profound teaching. "You're right, Ming. Every interaction we have, every decision we make is a new opportunity, and we must remember that we are richer than we could ever imagine." When I looked at them, I saw that there was a silent understanding among us. It was as if we had had a small epiphany together. What if true luck is simply being alive and having people by our side who care about us? Tao asked, breaking the silence. "Yes," I agreed. "We are here now, and we are grateful for each other. That is more valuable than any amount of money." The atmosphere was so light that we could almost hear the whisper of the wind, bringing with it the sounds of the village. Then, suddenly, a noise in the distance caught our attention. An unfamiliar man was approaching, riding a small donkey. He looked tired, but his eyes sparkled with lively curiosity. "Hello, travelers," he exclaimed, jumping off the donkey. "I'm Chen, and I've heard about the kindness of this village. I've come from afar and have something to share." Tao, always cautious, looked at him, but the three of us decided to give him a chance. "What do you have to share, Chen?" I asked. Chen smiled, pulling a small package from his bag. "This is an ancient manuscript of Buddhist wisdom that I inherited from my grandfather. It talks about the true wealth of life, about how to live fully and how each moment is a gift." Intrigued, we moved closer to see what he had. Chen carefully unrolled the manuscript, revealing characters that danced on aged paper. "The true lottery," he began, "is not about winning money, but living a life rich in experiences and relationships. What you have learned along your journey resonates in this text." Lian, with her eyes shining with emotion, said, "You don't know how much this resonates with us. We went through an intense process of self-discovery after winning the lottery. And now, we are understanding that what truly matters are the connections we make." Chen nodded, his eyes lit with understanding. "Yes, and it is through these connections that we find our purpose. True happiness is not in accumulating possessions, but in sharing and growing together." I was overcome with a wave of gratitude. What that man brought was exactly what we needed to hear. You are a gift to us, Chen. We never imagined we would receive such a profound lesson in a simple sunset. In fact, it is a gift that everyone can share, he replied with a warm smile. Life is full of surprises, and every encounter is an opportunity to learn and grow. The manuscript contains teachings that can help not only you, but everyone in the village. The conversation flowed naturally, and as night fell, we talked about our experiences and what it meant to live a rich life. Chen shared stories of his journey and how he had learned to value each moment, even in hardships. I have been in places where poverty is overwhelming, but happiness does not depend on material possessions. It depends on the love and solidarity we offer one another, he said. Those words resonated deeply within me. Looking at Lian and Tao, I realized that despite our experiences with wealth, what had truly transformed us was the decision to look within ourselves and understand what really mattered. That night, under the bright stars, I knew we were not just friends who had ventured in search of luck. We were travelers of life, learning, growing, and truly living. The real prize was in our hearts, not in a lottery ticket. Tao, in a moment of reflection, concluded, "Life is our greatest lottery, and each day we have the chance to choose how to play." And so, with Chen's manuscript in hand, we decided that our journey was just beginning. The true treasure had been revealed, and we promised never to forget that true wealth lies in the experiences we live and the connections we cultivate. Now let's take a brief reflection. Often, we seek luck in the wrong places, believing that money or material goods will fill our hearts. However, as we saw in this story, true luck is not in the numbers we play, but in the choices we make and the people around us. What truly enriches our lives are the bonds of friendship, the shared experiences, and the positive impact we have on others' lives. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that happiness comes from within, and that the greatest fortune we can have is to live with purpose and compassion. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel and share in the comments what lesson you learned. What moment touched your heart the most? Until the next video, or watch the next ones, you will be surprised by other beautiful and inspiring stories.